Apparently so. Apparently it's working. Hopefully it's working. People are going to let us know if it's
Is
not.
this thing on?
I hope so. If not, they're going to let us know in the chat pretty quickly if it's not going to be working. But I'm pretty sure it is. People are pretty nice about it. So yeah, we're kind of flying by the seam of our pants here when it comes to this live stream here on YouTube. For those of you who are watching, so yeah, we're here in Lexington. What is this place called?
Well,
The
we're
North Lime.
yeah, we're in
North
a little bit
Lime.
of a cool little, like, an awesome little shopping area that we did not realize existed while we were eating. But shout out to Joy to the World. I'm sure she might be in this chat soon.
Yeah,
She gave us the gift card, and we had a lot of donuts, and we had a great time.
yeah, apparently so. Apparently so. I was, really excited about what was been going on here, and we had a long walk over here too from the downtown area and everything. So my guess is that getting our exercise in as we just crammed ourselves with donuts and coffee was a nice little ending to what would be otherwise a very successful trip here in Lexington. So yeah, I don't know about y'all, but I enjoyed my time here in Lexington, and I'm going to kind of be sad to leave here at what was our flight? 5:30 is when we fly out of here, I believe.
550.
5:50. So there you have it. But yeah, we just wanted to do an impromptu because we got kicked out of our Airbnb because we can't be there anymore, and we just wanted to do something while we're doing nothing essentially, and kind of give a recap of what our trip was like here in Lexington. Here on a Sunday afternoon, and just do some recapping, and we'll kind of give our own thoughts on everything about the trip and everything that we have gone through and went through and what we've done. And guys, I guess we'll just start with the beginning. Getting to Lexington, I know we talked a little bit on Inside Arkansas Live, but just getting here, the impressions, the people, the vibes, the city, everything involved. How'd we feel?
I mean, look, I can't speak for you guys. I can't speak for everybody, but I was pretty blown away. And again, we kind of said it all week that I came in here with not a ton of expectations, good or bad, just didn't really know much, didn't do a ton of research to look into how awesome Lexington is or any of that. And like we said, it was more of a city than we maybe expected, but really the fan base is kind of what stuck out to me. We knew BBN was crazy. We knew they were hectic. I mean, they've been in our YouTube comments for months now. Getting to meet a lot of those guys was really cool, and as we kind of expected, wasn't as hostile, as we maybe thought, or maybe it was forecasted by some on the internet. It was just cool, and I gotta say, I'm not trying to knock the Arkansas fan base, but that was kind of what jumped out to me is like this Kentucky fan base is just a little bit different. Like, I think that's fair to say that, especially with the basketball. Of course, football, baseball, that's one thing, but it's not an exaggeration when you say that like BBN really is just a special thing. And I can't speak for y'all, but more people came up to me in Lexington to say, hey man, love your content, love what you do, combined all my time in Arkansas. And that's not an exaggeration. I've only been covering Arkansas for about 4 or 5 years, and people come up to me at Bomb here and there, and I get some, hey, love what you do. It was overwhelming on this trip. There were way more people that recognized me, and I think that kind of speaks to just the passion and the way that these people live and die with their team, and just the anticipation they had for this game. We've obviously felt some awesome atmospheres in Fayetteville. We know the fans are crazy, but I think it's just a little bit of a different level with BBN, and I know that's going to be hard for some Hog fans to hear, but at least just the atmosphere leading up to the game, and I'm not talking about the in-rup itself. I'm just talking about around town in Lexington. Like, the three of us, we can walk up and down Dixon Street, and I'm not saying, like, the Hog fans should be flocking to us, but, like, every now and then you get a little, oh, hey, I know you, you're good. I mean, it was literally like all of Lexington knew who we were. It was crazy.
Yeah, no, it was crazy, man. It was cool, and I know that, like some people back home who do things similar to what we do took exception to us just kind of, showing some appreciation and gratitude to people who show appreciation and gratitude to us. I just think that's the right thing to do. If people support you and shout you out and make them feel good, then you want to acknowledge that, because we don't take this for granted. We couldn't do what we do if it wasn't for people listening to us and tapping in. And, Razorback fan base is obviously the nearest and dearest to our heart, by far, no question. But some good people down here in Lexington. So I appreciate all the recommendations and the love and the, rounds of drinks and the lunch that was bought for us yesterday. That was really cool, man. It makes you feel good. And we were kind of wondering what this trip would be like from a business standpoint, like from a content standpoint. How is this going to go? Because this team has been struggling. Like, what's the interest level like with this basketball program right now? And it went so much better than maybe I even anticipated. So for that, I'm grateful. And then honestly, the best thing about all this, fellas, is we kind of knew that this was going to be the case anyway, but if there were any question whatsoever, it's cemented now that this next era of college basketball, the next several years here, the rivalry is Arkansas Kentucky. Like, it's set in stone, man. This thing is going to be bitter. It's going to be heated, and I'm freaking here for it, man. It was awesome.
I can't wait to come back the next time that this trip happens. And next time Arkansas comes to Lexington, I cannot wait to come back. And I'm going to be honest about, to your point, Curtis, about the content and what we're going to do. I would like to sit here, let you guys into a little secret. I'd like to sit here and say that me and Curtis and Andrew got together weeks in advance, and we sat down and we're like, okay, at this point in time, we're going to do this piece of content, and this point in time, we're going to decide to do this. Like, besides Inside Arkansas Live, and of course, Pod at the Palace, and even Bombastic, most of the content that we had was just, hey, let's do this, or hey, this is happening, let's go over here. Like, we had no idea what KS Bar was going to be like what the situation is going to be like there. We had no idea what was going to be the reaction. Like, when we showed up there, is anybody going to care that we're there? Is anybody going to know who we are? We had no idea. So the expectations aren't exactly, set in stone. But I think that when we were talking about last night after celebratory, substances that were taken,
By the way, because I'm monitoring the chat here, and the fellas can't see it, but
Okay.
our man Philip, the in-game chatter, on our live stream said, well, these guys look hungover for sure. We're actually not.
No, there's
we,
no
We might be very
hangovers.
tired from the trip, but I can guarantee you we're not hungover. We had a celebratory toast and smiled at the tears of
Yes.
BBN for a minute, and then we went back to the crib. So
I-
I
'cause
just want to point that out.
Yes, because I can promise you that if we were all hungover, we would not be doing this live stream. We would just be like, they can get over, they can wait till tomorrow. But no, like it was an incredible trip, and like we talked about, like we knew that it was going to be, we were going to make it fun no matter what. We were going to make it fun no matter what. But we also, like you said, Curtis, didn't know since the team wasn't very good. Like Arkansas, what was that reaction going to be like? What were the fans going to be like to us? Like, what was it all going to be? And I mean, I could not have had said anything greater than what transpired. I mean, I cannot express enough how awesome this was, how much fun it was, how incredible people were, and also just this trip. We've only taken select few trips in our stay here, but this is one of the most fun trips I've ever had, at least in my career, and it's all because of again, knock on wood, everything's kind of gone our way on this trip, and the icing on the cake was just that win that Arkansas got over Kentucky last night.
Absolutely, and I mean, it was going to be a fun trip regardless. We had kind of braced for impact. We also didn't come here saying like, "Hey, it's going to be awesome. They're going to win." But I think, of course, like to your point, Curtis, we really kind of needed that from a content standpoint. Definitely helps, obviously, our operation. Like, it's no secret when the Hogs win, we win. But I also think it was just cool, and obviously, there's not a ton of Hog fans in Lexington, which you don't really expect. I mean, SEC road basketball, it's not like a thing that 12,000 fans travel for anyway. But I think that was what was really cool about it, is it felt like we were here like representing Arkansas. Obviously, we're here on behalf of Arkansas. Outside Arkansas is our new name here. But I think that was what was cool about it, is that like we quickly kind of became known as like the Arkansas guys, because there was really just us and a handful of fans. But I think that's what also made it special, was kind of being here representing the state, and seeing the state just on Twitter, and you always talk about Hog Twitter, seeing everybody really rally behind this, and the national guys all talking about Arkansas. And I think if we needed this, the fan base at Arkansas absolutely needed this. And we spoke about it leading in, that like, you don't just like bring a legendary coach and then say, all right, yeah, now he's your coach, and everyone immediately loves him, and they always feel that connection. Of course, people were excited when Calipari got to Arkansas, and they had high expectations, which weren't met right away. But I think it takes stuff like this to really ingrain you with the fan base and really ignite the fans to get behind you on a different level. And so I think that's what this trip kind of represents for us. One, just like for us content-wise, but also just with the fans. It's kind of like a monumental. We needed this moment to really get behind this team, and it really probably shouldn't take stuff like that. And I think, again, that's kind of what sticks out to me about Kentucky fans, is that like they just have an eternal optimism that if you had won as much as Kentucky basketball has won over the decades, you probably would have it as well, and just had a historic program. But Hog fans kind of have that battered hog syndrome a little bit. So hopefully this game did a little bit to dispel that. But it's really cool to see like this fan base kind of get woken up, especially for the basketball side. And we've seen how crazy it can be in these NCAA tournament runs with Muss. And it's, I'm not saying Hog fans will embrace Cal the same way they embraced Muss, but I think this weekend, and obviously the game, will do a lot for that. And so now I think there's something you can build off of. For the basketball team, of course, they'll build off of this win, but I really think this fan base is it's going to go to a different level now after this.
Well, it's the most difficult challenge for me talking about this basketball program every day. Like, part of the job is to keep people engaged, keep them interested, try to find unique ways to talk about it. Remember at the beginning of the week before we came down here, like, what were the three the palaces, right? It was like, well, like, who's going to stay or go next year? What are they going to do in the transfer portal? And what do these freshmen look like? Like, we were kind of having to turn that page a little bit just to keep people on the hook, like, because you have to. And that's been so difficult because this is a lot funner to do when the team is performing and they're playing well and people are engaged and fired up. And that's part of the reason why we came down here early, because we knew this could kind of be an opportunity to do all the things you just said, which is we've been waiting for that moment where fan base embraces team and they have that coming together kind of thing. And being down here, and it wasn't as mean and nasty, and we didn't get as much crap as maybe we thought we would, but you're kind of down here, you're behind enemy lines, you kind of get a real pulse for what another fan base thinks about you, thinks about your head coach. You just kind of sit there and hear all the trash talk, and then you get to the game, and at that point it was up to them to hold up their end of the bargain. And we weren't overly optimistic that was going to happen, but then it did, and so they got that moment. And to your point, Andrew, I feel like that could be the thing that really, it can be that binder, that glue that brings this whole thing together. We'll see, man. Like, was it a one-off, or do they catch lightning in a bottle? Do they keep this thing rolling and start winning some games? I don't know. But I can tell you what, the next time Arkansas is playing at Bud Walton Arena next Saturday in front of their home crowd, people are going to be into it, man. They're going to be engaged. They're going to be fired up because they're going to remember what Thero and DJ Wagner and Big Z, what they had to endure on the road, and they're going to show them that love to, just a little come up for those guys when they get back in Bud. So for that, I'm really looking forward to for that, no doubt.
Well, and to the Cal point, obviously, again, with all the stuff that he's gone through and, the reactions that he had from people in Kentucky and everything, I think that you mentioned, like, the rallying around point. Like, that's what I think that could really happen with Razorback fans. Because I even when I went on Feinbaum, and I've talked about this too, is like the disconnect and how we felt that there was a disconnect. And nobody cares about disconnect if you're winning. Because if you're winning, hey, we don't care what you do and how you do it, you're winning. And I think that Razorback fans kind of got to the point where, especially with all the stuff that Cal was getting from all sides, from local people here in Kentucky to national media members, it's almost like, hey, okay, guys, like, but this is our coach. We don't have any stake in this claim. Like, no one's coming at us. Everyone's going after Kentucky. Everyone's going after Cal. By the way, there's soccer going on next door, in case you can't hear it. Big soccer guys. But it's like they approached it as in, like, Arkansas fans, if they had no stake in this fight, really. It was more of this: we're rooting for our guy. Like, this is our guy, and we want this for him. Like, I know that they say the players wanted it for Cal, and the coaches wanted it for Cal. The fans, I think, wanted it for Cal too, just to be like, man. Like, you've been nothing but gracious since you've been at Arkansas. You've been very helpful. You've been good in the community. You've been good. You've talked about how much you want to be here. And so Arkansas fans are like, man, yeah, season hasn't gone well. We get it, but we want this for you too. And I'm hoping that, okay, now you got that. You got that out of your system. You got a great performance. You won the game that, man, like, you wanted it so bad. Let's do something with it, and let's see where this goes. And I think that that's the type of unifier where, say, if they go on the road and beat Texas this week, suddenly that just ups everything to 11. I'm like, okay, they got it figured out. They know where they're going with it. So let's see what the approach will be, and let's see what this team can do. Because Kentucky fans kept saying, hey, Cal gets out one game. Cal gets out one game. They also kept saying, hey, sometimes Cal, he gets going. He gets on a streak, starts winning. Maybe I need to start listening to BBN and about basketball, because maybe that happens that way.
Tell us.
By the way, if Arkansas really does end up making the tournament, and this really does turn out to be like a turning point, and they go on a cool run, kind of how Kentucky, I know they lost in the tournament, but how they did last year, where December, January, it kind of looked bleak, and then they kind of found something and were able to ride it. If this Arkansas team goes to the tournament, let's just officially say December and January do not count for Arkansas basketball, because we've kind of seen a similar story play out with Muss, maybe looked a little bit different, and with Muss, we kept getting duped. because we were like, oh no, this is really the year they're not going to turn around. And finally, last year they did. But if Arkansas really makes the tournament, we officially it's a thing now at this point. It's like a scheduled thing. But so guys, I did an episode of Bombastic last week where I was basically pleading to Razorback fans to get on board and just go all in on the baseball team. I was like, listen, I don't know if they're going to win a title. I don't know if they're even going to get back to Omaha, but I just think it's a story you're going to want to watch play out, and it's more rewarding when you're there the whole time. Obviously, there's a lot of Hog fans in the state. I mean, the state of Arkansas has however many people. There's a lot of people who were maybe tapped in on the game, maybe watched the game, maybe checked the score, and then there's some who were watching everything we did. They're like they were counting down the minutes. It means a little bit something more when you're there the whole time, when you're watching every game and you know these players, you know the story. And again, wins like this help kind of build that relationship. But I think there's a lot of Hog fans who last night was really a euphoric moment where it was like a relief. You're finally able to do something cool like that, and it means more when you've gone through the dog days a little bit. And so, not to say that, hey, there's probably a lot of fans who just probably woke up this morning, checked ESPN.com, saw the score, and were like, oh, cool, Arkansas won. And so it's good for them too. But again, I think it's more rewarding when you're there along for the journey. And for us, every time you book a trip like this is what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And so it's cool to have it play out that way. And ultimately, we're going to go on a trip one of these days. I mean, we've gone on a couple this year, and it's not going to go this well. And that'll totally be that's going to be fine. You just got to take the lumps. But again, being a part of the journey and being there for this team throughout it all, in person, of course, but really just being all in and locked in on the team and on the journey is kind of what makes it special. And so it's cool to see so many fans kind of get that moment because I feel like they earned it.
Yeah.
Not that guys that haven't been watching every game didn't earn it, but it's like it's a little bit different when you're there for the ups and downs. You gotta know what pain tastes like before you can experience joy.
Yeah.
Shout out joy to the world, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. Shout out joy to the world. We got some people over here watching us over here. We appreciate it coming by. Yeah. Well, yeah. It was a sad game for Kentucky fans. Understandable. Yeah, it was a rough one. But yeah, it's a shout out to Joy to the World for the great recommendation and gift card over here to was it North by Lime or North
Lime.
North Lime, North by Lime, North by Northwest, whatever, Kanye West kids.
Yeah, shout out to the what did I get to drink? A loaded leprechaun?
Yeah, a loaded leprechaun. And no, it did not have alcohol.
Fuel, that's what
it had no alcohol in it, we promise. It was completely free of that. But yeah, so kind of getting to the Lexington trip within itself, we saw all of the amenities and all of the things that, possibly, again, we talked about how great the trip's been and all of that. But I'm going to be honest, because I know you guys talked a lot about it at Pot at the Palace last night. Going to Rupp Arena, was an experience that was, it was one that was for the ages. I don't know if there's any empty seats in the house. I didn't see any. I'd say 99.9% Kentucky fans, overwhelmingly. And my favorite thing about last night, I will say, is also shout out to Paisha for the great ticket that she got me. I really appreciate that. Get me down there. We were in all, but my favorite thing was walking up after the game and seeing the faces of Kentucky fans because of, it felt weird to be on the other side of it. It felt weird because usually that's the stuff what happens to Arkansas in all honesty in all their sports. And so have a good one. It's had the way of Arkansas wanted a game bad, and they needed it bad, and then they lose it, and it's just so devastating for any reason. The Houston Nutt return with Ole Miss in 2008, they lost that one. It was weird seeing it on the other side and seeing the look that I've seen many times where they were dead inside because of how much they wanted it. And I'm not saying this in a gloating way, maybe a little bit.
I am.
I'd say maybe a little bit, but it's just. To us, we didn't have any expectations. That game didn't mean, it wasn't our Super Bowl as much as people want to say. It wasn't. It was a game hey, they're probably going to lose, whatever. But when you win the game and you didn't expect them to, and you're kind of walking up and you see that the emotions, the drain, the absolute devastation where it looked like they just lost their dog was just a satisfying but eerie feeling seeing it from the other side.
Oh, it was surreal, man, and you're 100% right about everything you said there. And Rupp Arena, the arena itself, is awesome. The place
awesome.
is huge, man.
Massive.
Huge arena, and the atmosphere. It was a lot of nostalgia involved in there, and it's cool. It's an experience I think people need to have, and obviously that one was a unique one last night, but. Yeah, man. Arkansas is on the other side of that so often. There's 3 minutes left in the game, and Arkansas is up by a dozen or whatever. And me and Andrew are still looking at each other like, yeah, I mean, well, they need to probably get a couple more stops. I don't know, man. Like that run's coming. 'Cause we know how this ends.
Yep.
But then it didn't end that way. But it's so crazy because you hear people say all the time when they really don't know because they don't have that type of interaction with other fan bases. They're not fans of, other college teams or whatever. But it's like, oh, every fan base does this. Every fan base does that. And we had so many prime examples of that last night where the Kentucky fans around us were so ticked off. And it's like, that guy sucked all year. Now he's killing us, of course. Oh, yeah, the team hasn't been able to shoot all year. And they come in here and they're 50% from three. Yeah, it never fails. Oh, this always happens to Kentucky. What is it? This doesn't happen to anybody else. It was cracking me up because I'm like, I hear this every time.
Are we in Bud Walton Arena right now? Like, yeah.
It was so funny, man, to see that. Yeah, and it was surreal to see Arkansas clearing out Rupp Arena early. And I took a video of it and I posted it because not many people were able to do that. Like, that's a statement thing. For Cal to come back and do that is crazy. And we've seen Kentucky, coached by John Calipari, in recent seasons come in there and do that to Bud Walton. So it's kind of nice to pay it forward a little bit. But you mentioned like probably 99.5% Kentucky fans in there. That's true. They really packed the house there. And I understand for Razorback fans, it's like team hasn't been playing that well. It's like Super Bowl prices for the freaking tickets. Like I get it, all that for those who couldn't make it or didn't want to come, whatever. If you get the opportunity in the future, come.
Yeah, do it.
Get down to Lexington and experience the game in Rupp and get out and check out some of the environment, the atmosphere. It's really, really cool, and Twitter's also not a real place. Like these people are really hospitable and gracious, and they welcome you. And it's a trip worth making for sure.
I mean, guys, I don't want to be dramatic, but last night's like one of those nights, and we've said this a few times, where it like kind of reminds you of why you love sports, like why we get into this business that we're in and why we do what we do. Because it's just one of those moments, again, where it's like everyone in that arena, for better or for worse, most of them for worse, are never going to forget that moment, and the fun, you touched about the fan bases and how you kind of have the confidence on one side, and then you have the battered cat syndrome where you're like, oh God, of course this happened to us. And the biggest misconception of all time is that we would feel like, oh, we're always going to feel like this.
Yeah.
We're always going to be super confident. And that's what's cool is you get to see the spectrum. Sport, it's a goddamn roulette spin, dude. Like, you just never know what's going to happen. I think that's what's so fun about it is, like, of course, we're going to be on the other end of this very soon at some point, whether it's Wednesday, whether it's Saturday, whatever. But that's what's so fun about it is, like, as a sports fan, you're always going to experience the highs and the lows. And I think that's what, as many Kentucky fans that were kind of pre-reverse jinxing, it's just so fun to see some of them who truly, like, not only did they not see it coming, didn't think it was possible. Like, there were a lot, I would say a decent portion of BBN and even some of their media guys that really, truly did not think it was possible. Like, they could not have seen a scenario where Kentucky was going to lose, and sports have a way of freaking humbling you. And me and Curtis were walking up to the arena, kind of like to your point of the battered hog, like, we were like, all right, we've kind of prepared for everything. We just don't have evidence to believe that Arkansas could do this. And they freaking did it, And it's one of those things, and you just got to enjoy it while you can. But, again, that's what kind of makes it so intoxicating and fun is that, like, you just get to play this game. It's like your life's on the line every single time, and it's freaking electric, man.
Yeah, and again, like, to go into I'm going to be honest. I know you guys said it too, but I'm going to be honest, too, about my thoughts. Rupp Arena's awesome. The facility's awesome. It's an awesome atmosphere and everything. But Bud Walton at its best, Rupp Arena at its best, Bud Walton every time. And I'm not saying that because I'm biased. I'm honestly not. Like, because I went in there objectively. This year, maybe not, but when you get Bud Walton at its best, the atmosphere and the energy is better. And that's okay. Like, it's not saying Rupp is a bad one. Yeah. It's just Bud Walton Arena's a little, it's just built different. Really, it is.
Well, and also, like, it's obviously worth noting, like, Bud Walton hasn't had a crowd like that
no,
all year,
not
of course,
at all.
and we know that.
Not at all.
You can't compare,
Give me the Auburn game when they were number one coming into Bud Walton
100%.
Over that any day of the week.
And I think that's what was kind of eye-opening for me is, like, me and Curtis were in, we're all sitting there and we're like, man, not the loudest, like, I can hear myself talk. Me and Curtis are able to talk and have conversations with each other, like, point blank, where, like, to your point in that Auburn game, so deafeningly loud. And Rupp, just it's not that. It's a little bit of a different crowd. They got guys in their quarter zips, and you got your politicians. Hell, there was Tubby Smith. There was like celebrities.
That was a cool moment, by the way.
It felt more like an NBA game, like where you have the celebrities. You've got what's that guy that goes to all the Lakers game and spilled the chili? Is it Nicholson, Jack Nicholson, or whatever? Like
Yes,
it's like
yeah.
one of those crowds, but it's not a ruckus like college sports crowd. But again, it's the venue is kind of what makes it special. But you had so many Kentucky fans who were like, "That was the loudest the arena's ever been," and I'm like, "Oh, a little bit different there, eh?"
Well, yeah, and it was also the same Kentucky, mouthpieces and everything that were saying, "Oh, what John Calipari looks really nervous." Oh, that Arkansas team sure does look
Sheesh.
tense out there, So I take some of that with a grain of salt. They're playing up the moment, and I get it. But yeah, I feel the same way too. Bud at its best, and we've experienced that, and allegedly Rupp at its best.
I mean, can it get better than that? I mean, I'm serious.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And, I think about the noise levels when Cal got tossed out of that random January game at Bud Walton Arena a few years ago. The decibels were on a completely different level than him being introduced with all the emotion and the buildup and the hype and 15 years of history and everything else. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
man. But it was cool, man. It was a good atmosphere.
It was.
We do need to. Oh, I think our mics are cutting in and out. People were saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Like, for how long has this been going on?
just now. Yeah, just now.
Okay. Well,
I think this was fun.
is this
We did well.
wrapping up? Yeah. If you can hear me, fine.
Phil says he hears us, so
Okay.
I don't know.
in and out. I guess me and Curtis sharing a mic.
It could be it. So, well, keep us updated because we don't have a producer. We're not to that level yet.
Well, John, you need to address some allegations that are being thrown your way here.
Okay. What now?
There's a heavy belief that you're hammered.
Based on what? Like what? I mean, do I look that bad on the do I look like crap? Is it because I'm not slurring my
People are saying
words? I
you
don't
need hair of
think.
the dog. You need sunglasses.
Well, it is kind of bright, I will say. It's got the sun coming in, so maybe that's part of it. But no, I could not be more sober. Like honestly, truly, could not be more sober than what I am right now. I am maybe drunk a little bit on live because of how fun this trip's been. I mean, seriously, it's everything that we've talked about all week and everything that we've done, all of this stuff, guys. It's just, and the fact that it's done it with my friends, and my colleagues here. It's just. It couldn't have been better. And I'm so glad we made this trip. And that's what made it so much fun is to be able to do this and to have things go our way the way that they have. I'm continuing to knock on wood because we still got to get home. But, we saw it in the very beginning. Our flights were on time. In fact, they were early even. We got to the locations early. So, yeah.
You guys are going to have to help us out in the chat here because we've got some people that are like, audio doesn't work. This is bullshit. I'm out of here. And you got other people saying, I hear you guys just fine. Can you hear us? Can you not? What's going on here?
I say we just keep doing it even if nobody can hear us, and we'll just roll with it until the end because we can't play the hit or miss game here. We can't be doing this stuff, folks. Come on now. If you can hear us,
yeah,
it's fine.
everybody's saying audio's working fine.
Okay,
So, and apologies if it's not.
Yeah,
'cause
we want to
we
make
don't
it
have our
work.
normal setup with our
Yeah.
computer. We're usually able to kind of monitor it, so we're not 100% sure. But
Yeah.
everybody's popping in now saying it's working. So maybe it was just
Okay.
cutting in and out.
Maybe,
for a minute
just
there.
for a second.
So Kyle, sorry man, if you lost it there. But
like I said, we apologize. We're
come
doing
back
our
to
best.
us.
We're doing our best. Maybe that's why they think we're drunk or I'm drunk is because the audio's not working right. But still, we're going to do our best. Let us know. We appreciate all you guys tapping in with us and everything. But still, yeah, it just goes back to this whole trip of being a high success and something that I'll never forget for a long time. And I know that we're going to be going down to Auburn here in a few weeks and seeing how that is. And we'll get to see and witness another great atmosphere because Auburn's really good. And I don't think that that's a game Arkansas is going to win. And I mean, so we'll see, but maybe we'll get to see that atmosphere, and then we'll have more of a pool to say, okay, we saw that, we saw Lexington. How's the jungle? Because we've heard the jungle's insane. So, we're kind of doing a whole work here, but to have the things, everything's been sexy. The weather's great today, by the way, too. For February? It's amazing, early February. So yeah, but the weather's been great, people been great, food's been great, drinks been great, everything's been great. It's hard to complain about anything this trip.
Yeah, and again, I think it's just we have new life. It's like we got a new lease at life. We survived. The bullet just missed us, didn't kill us. We're still cooking, and now this season just has a new feel to it. And not saying, Arkansas, there's a lot of work left to do, and so that's what's cool about it is we'd love to be like, all right, big success. And now we
Big
have
success.
there's a lot of work to be done, and so everybody needs to get in that foxhole with us. And maybe we need to just carry all of Razorback Nation with us on these trips throughout the rest of the year. But again, I think we needed this, and I think the Hog fans needed to have something to believe in to just move forward. Where it's like, all right, now the season. I saw one of the first comments we had on YouTube after the postgame show was Cal's tenure at Arkansas started tonight, and I'm like, you know what? I like that.
Sure.
And so again, I think there was a lot of these people that were kind of waiting to get on board. They're on board now, and I will say I'm not that sad about the trip ending though. I had a great time in Lexington, but good Lord, I cannot wait to get back to Fayetteville.
Me too.
But it really has been awesome here in Lexington, and it's like I guess as a Hog fan, it's stunning to just have everything go so according to plan.
Yeah.
I want to give one final shout out
Okay.
to our time here. The guys at KSR, okay?
Great dudes.
Kentucky Sports Radio. Now, hear me, Razorback fans, when I say this. Give them the business.
Yes.
Be relentless.
Let 'em hear
Let
about
them have it every day, the rest of the season, and don't you dare stop, no matter what happens. Because we had to sit and take it for a long time, and buddy, you got the ultimate trump card right now. Fire away, all right? However, I will say, major shout out to those guys. Seriously.
Yes.
They were awesome. Letting us come in there to KS Bar, which is incredible. If you do come to town, you got to go out there. Really, really cool goals. We've talked about all that. But letting us do our shows out there, getting us involved with what they had going on. Super, super hospitable. They were great. And I know people give Matt Jones the business, but he was a great host. He really was. And we appreciate him. We appreciate those guys, even if we have to hate them when we're in character. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. Yeah,
Okay.
that's true. And also to your point, Curtis, that may have been, I'm not saying that was what made the trip, but their hospitality and us being able to do the show from there every day. I mean, our Airbnb was fine. Like, it was a nice place. But to do it there in the middle of it, and even yesterday going on their pregame show where they were all, as soon as I got on their show, I was on there for 5 minutes, and I was just getting booed relentlessly. And it was fine, and I got to make fun of them because, their big chant is KATS, cats, cats, cats. And like, you guys just mimic the Jets, 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 Jets. And if you're doing that, you can't be a real program. But still, they were awesome. Matt Jones was very hospitable. Jack Pilgrim, Drew Franklin, all those guys were awesome. And, we don't have a bar of our own in Fayetteville. But if you guys come to Fayetteville, no Barkansas, but if you come to Fayetteville, we'll do what we can to return the favor and make you feel the love from all the Razorback faithful.
Are we at all worried that last night's result is going to kind of change that? Where, again, it's like when you're not threatened by the team or by the people, you're like, yeah, come on, you're our buddy, you're our ally. And you had, like, again, we've had a lot of BBN that's kind of like almost feeling sorry for us, where they're like, man, we know what you're going through, we feel bad. Do you think last night's game maybe changes that a little bit? Because, again, I mean, Matt Jones said they had to win the game, and he wouldn't have said that if he thought there were any freaking chance they would lose the game. I mean, I'm not going to say any names, but I mean, I literally had a Kentucky media guy tell me he thought Cal had dementia. He was like, I think the guy's got early onset dementia, and he was like, I actually think Arkansas is going to be worse next year. Like, again, I think part of we were so not a threat that I think it was easier to be hospitable. I really do think if we come back to Lexington next year, it's going to be a little
bit
different. Because now, again, to your point, if it wasn't already a rivalry, and it's been a rivalry for a while, maybe it was more on the Arkansas side. They know it now, and they're going to take it personally now, which is fun. That's what makes this whole thing fun. But I'm going to be interested to see just kind of how that vibe is now, and if they're as receptive to us, because now it's like, oh crap, this is a real program that we're kind of in battle with now.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting our food bought today from any of those nice Kentucky fans. I don't think anyone in Kentucky's buying us a round of drinks after last night. But that was almost kind of maybe the positive of it being such a late game, is because we got all the time we could be people being nice to us. And then the day that afterwards, that's why we're here on the other side of town. We're staying incognito. We don't have our Razorback gear on here. I mean, we're just trying to get out of here just as quickly as Cal and the team did last night, apparently. But no, like it was an experience that you can tell, because I also want to give another shout. I know we're doing a lot of this, but this is kind of the point of the stream. We got time till our flight, so just whatever. Y'all can stay with us. Big Blue Nation, we've had our stuff. Y'all are legit when it comes to being a basketball fan base. I mean, the passion and numbers and everything, it's there. It is there. And I think Arkansas has a good fan base when it comes to Razorback basketball. But there's a reason why they're the blue-blooded program that they are, because they are everywhere. They're loud, they're proud. We even talked about, I've never seen a place where everywhere we went this week, like starting on Wednesday, everywhere people were wearing Kentucky blue, like Kentucky. And you just don't see that in Fayetteville. You don't see that in really any college town, but they are passionate about their Wildcats. They're very smart. I mean, we got people watching us and have been since April because they just love basketball. So again, we've been throwing some shots, but also giving compliments. Big Blue Nation is a heck of a fan base when it comes to basketball, and it's fun, especially I'm sure for you, Curtis, as a basketball guy. It's cool to see that many people and that many people be that passionate about the game.
Yeah. I mean, passion's a good word to describe it. You mentioned all the Kentucky gear. Like, I've never seen so many adult males in jerseys as I did, during our time here. But that's yeah, man, it's really cool. Just impressive stuff. I mean, I think, Cal, and you're right. Like, this is kind of the point of the stream, just recapping our trip. If you want to hear more about the nuts and bolts basketball side, what it means for the team, tune in at 6 o'clock tonight because we got a pod at the Palace that's going to be coming out. But, I got to give Cal a lot of credit because this was, he was center stage nationally. There's no way to escape everything that was, going on surrounding him with this return. And all week, I thought he did a terrific job of handling it. I'm sure he was tired of talking about it. I'm sure he just wanted to coach his team or whatever, or just deal with the emotions that he had coming his way. Handled it with class, handled it with grace. Every moment, every interview, every time a camera was on him, before the game, during the game, after the game, he handled it like a pro. And there's something to be said for being the guy that, they kind of wanted to run you out of town, man, mm-hmm. and they feel like they've upgraded, whatever, and they probably still wouldn't trade their situation for ours, and I don't blame them. But not only for Cal to kind of get the last laugh here in his return, but to do it by literally out-coaching Mark Pope was really impressive. Like, the vindication, the validation, the satisfaction he must feel is awesome. And
the X's and O's.
Oh my gosh. And so I'm really pumped for him. And then to the many people here in Lexington who remain John Calipari fans, mm-hmm. stands, supporters, who were saying, hey, he's a good man. We want him to find a lot of success. Just, we want to beat your brains in this game. I bet there's still a piece of them in the aftermath that's like, good for him, man. You know what I mean?
Yep, I think so too, especially seeing, as Andrew has done such a great job of retweeting, former Kentucky players that have been very happy for Coach Cal and his victory in this really hard-fought game. Still got love for their Wildcats, of course, but happy for Coach Cal.
I mean, we knew this all along. Coach Cal is an entity of himself. He is a business, bro. He is a businessman. He's a businessman, but he's also a business, man.
Yeah.
And we knew this all along. We knew he was box office. We knew, when the day he got hired and all of our numbers were going crazy, and we knew that he was just a polarizing figure. I mean, we've covered that in depth, and we also talked about how he kind of thrives in these big moments, these big stages. Like, he's comfortable in these settings, and I think that was really cool. And look, before I even say anything else, Mark Pope, great coach, awesome. Obviously, Kentucky fans wouldn't trade him. Timeout. Need 30 Pope is what we're going to start calling him now. But seriously, he's a great coach, and Kentucky fans should absolutely they shouldn't want to trade. That's going to be their new era, and it's going to be awesome. But I just couldn't help but notice when Cal was walking out of the visitor locker room, the flock of cameras. I've never seen that many cameras around a coach on the floor before a game. And I know this. I'm sorry, BBN. Mark Pope had to fight elbow through cameramen to get to John Calipari to shake his hand. And that's not an exaggeration. Yeah. I know it sounds like I'm trolling. It's not. And then when they got done shaking hands, Mark Pope walked away, and not one single cameraman followed his ass. And I look, obviously, again, he's going to win a ton of games at Kentucky. Hell, Mark Pope might win a national title at Kentucky. I'll even give him that. He's never going to be that. He's never going to be like the guy that everyone can't take their eyes off of. He's never going to be box office like that. And look, there's more to, obviously being a celebrity doesn't win you games, but I think it's just really cool. It's a special thing. We knew it when we hired Cal, but it's just special to get to cover a guy who is such a cult of personality like that, and to be someone who demands the attention of the nation despite what Seth Greenberg had to say.
Well, and also to your point, I know that Arkansas has not won as many games as people have wanted. We know that. But I've always heard and always had the assumption that Cal, there's never a moment that's too big for him. The lights are never too bright for Cal at all. And we've always seen it at Kentucky. But at Arkansas, I started thinking about it. The two biggest wins that he's gotten this year were when the most eyeballs were on the Razorbacks and Cal was when they were in Madison Square Garden against Michigan and when they were in this game. Now, again, I know that you got to win more games, but when the lights were the brightest, when you were in the venues, the atmospheres and everything, is when it was when he showed up, is when they played their best, is when the coaching was at its best. And to me, that just is always, again, you're not going to win every game, and you're not winning a lot of games now. I get it, but for a Razorback fan, you should at least have the confidence to say, hey, we may get beat because the other team's better. We may get beat because we don't play well. We may get beat because the X's and O's aren't there, whatever. But we're not going to get beat because the moment was too big. We're not going to get beat because this coaching staff did not know how to handle being in the spotlight. And so take for what it is, but that's at least a silver lining that you can count on with Cal as the head coach.
No doubt about it. And he doesn't sacrifice his morals or his values, even in the heat of the moment.
Never.
My favorite part of the night was him stopping mid-interview and yelling at Billy Richmond for talking trash.
That was so awesome.
That was incredible. I love that, one. And two, I love that Billy Richmond was doing it.
Yes.
And like, I really didn't care for, some of the reports that were coming out from, like, the Kentucky media side of, this is what John L. Davis said walking
Yeah,
back
I
to
don't know
This is what
about
Billy,
that.
guess what? That's the way that this works. And you can't be upset about it or throwing shade at Razorback players for talking a little bit of trash after the game with the way that ended, with Amari Williams and those guys on the bench, with everything that the Arkansas players had to hear and deal with and listen to, getting booed, getting chirped the entire game. That's part of the deal. That's why this is a great rivalry. I loved it. I love seeing that from Arkansas because that's the type of, have a little bit to you that we've been waiting for with this team. That's what brings you together when you got 21,000 or however many people. They'll yell at us for the seats there in Rupp Arena because we don't know how many there are. But when all those people are against you and you rally together like that, that's what brings a team together. I love that Carter Knox was staring people down and talking to the student section. I love that DJ Wagner was shushing them. I love that Z was sticking it to him. I love that Nellie Davis and Billy Richmond were ready to throw hands. That's what this team needs. They're searching for an identity. Maybe that's it, and maybe they got a little bit of swagger back. We'll see if they carry it over. I love that, and I love that Cal is giving him the business about it too.
Man,
It's good on him. He's an upstanding man.
That clip from Cal last night when he's yelling at Billy, like just Billy, stop it! Like it's like a kid, like a parent getting mad at his kid, and then he looks in the camera like, that kid, what are you gonna do? It's like that was a great thing, but yeah, like I don't care what anybody says. Like last night with DJ Wagner when he got the ball every single time, and he was booed mercilessly. And I had Kentucky fans saying, but it's not personal. No, it is personal. You're booing the kid every time he touches the ball. That's not, we're booing because a Cal played him over. No, you're booing him because you have strong anger against him. And for them to come up in that moment and just put it to him. I mean, that's what makes it so sweet about it. And like you said, Curtis, the willing to throw hands, the willing to get nasty with it. And for Cal to handle it the way he did, when I posted that video yesterday morning of Nolan Richardson when they beat him in 1993 or 94, when he's walking off the court, one of the things that you hear Kentucky fans, it wasn't as angry, but you hear Kentucky fans go, "We hate you, Nolan," like that. He says, "Yes, sir," like just walking off, knowing that like, hey, I took care of business in here, so you can boo me, you can hate me, you can hiss at me, but I'm walking out here with a win, and I'm just. Again, going back real quick before the Cal point, I don't know how he does it because it would be so tough. The amount of attention he gets from the media and cameras on him all week long. You know how hard it would be because he wanted this. How hard it is to him not to leak out and make it look a little bit, I want this. Not to give an indication about it. And then he does it. And then in the locker room, for the first time, post-game locker room video, you see for DJ, for Adu, for Big Z, and for me. Like, that was just such a great thing.
Who was the coach here last year? Who's
the coach?
Where did I coach before Arkansas?
Kentucky. I looked up sometimes. I swear, I looked up sometimes.
That was hilarious. Where he's like, I really thought we were down.
Yeah,
I saw Arkansas.
He's like, I saw Kentucky was down. He's like, I thought it was us. He's like, and he said 2-0. Thought the same. Like, but that just goes to show you that it was personal. He wanted it bad, but not one time did he show it leading up to that game.
Of course. course it's personal. That's the stupidest thing
Yeah.
anyone could say is that, oh, no, it's not personal. It just features all these characters who have interwoven stories, and there's a lot of history between them. It's not personal, though. It's just that we have deep hatred for 7 of the guys on your roster and your coach and your staff and all this. I mean, Tyler Eulis is crying as he's going into the arena and stuff like the entire country's talking about it. Reed, it's personal. Like, that's what makes it, and that's what makes it special. But I like the point you made, Curtis, about everyone kind of talking their trash. And you see in those moments, it does mean something to them. And I think a lot of times especially this new era of college sports, NIL and all this, blah, 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 people always kind of wonder, do these guys care? Do they care about the name on the front of the jersey? Does it really matter to them whether Arkansas wins or loses? Hell, we've even questioned that with this exact team, and even with Cal, where we're like, is he necessarily dying to win at Arkansas? And maybe that's too strong, but yes, the answer is yes. It does matter to these guys, and so it's cool to see that. And again, when you have a game like last night, nobody has to question it.
Nope.
You don't. And Adu Thero has been that guy all year where I'm like, if you think these guys don't care, watch him play basketball. He cares, and you got to see that from Arkansas. And it's so cool when you don't need it spelled out for you. You don't need someone to go to the podium and say, well, we cared because blah 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 blah. You see it by how they played, how they reacted, how they acted in that moment, and it's just really cool. And we're gonna have these memories of like all the things. I mean, for the rest of the day, the 3 of us, we're just gonna be talking about all the funny moments and remember when so and so did that, or remember when Big Z hit that 3, and like that's what makes it cool. And again, it goes back to the fan base really embracing the team. It's way easier to do it when you see that they care, and it's just awesome.
I want to ask you guys about this dynamic real quick and get your thoughts on it, because if you remember, and I'm sure you do, and we've bordered or teetered on some of this week of like the self-own thing, where it's like, people are saying, because Kentucky, the one thing they do is feel very highly about themselves, and hey, it's a program with a rich tradition,
For sure.
history, and I get it. But it's it's always like, yeah, but Arkansas, whatever, and we're always very quick to want to be like, hey, yeah, but over the last several years, like Arkansas has been a better program than Kentucky has. They've done more. They've gone further. And then the retort is always, well, yeah, now you've taken the coach that, you know what I mean? And so it's kind of a self-own. I'm so fascinated by a lot of what we saw last night with Reed Shepherd and Davion Mintz and Jacob Toppin and Ty Washington and all these former Kentucky players who are like, yo, walked in the trap, took over the trap. Oh, I'm going to wear the Arkansas shirt. Like, showing all this love to Cal. And it's the mental gymnastics for BBN. Some of them get it, and they're like, well, okay, like that was your coach, but you're Kentucky for like this is where you're going to come back to. But then the other people who are like screenshotting their NCAA tournament failures and everything, like that's your own player from your own team. That's the craziest dynamic, and I'm just happy we're not messing with it right now. Like, we just get to sit and watch. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think so at all. And also, to that point, I'm not going to say names, but there was also a former Kentucky player that got kicked out of a Lexington bar last night. Well, he was wearing a Kentucky shirt, mind you, with maybe a Razorback shirt underneath, for chanting, "Cal is your daddy," to all the Kentucky fans. A former Kentucky player. I'm not naming names, but it's pretty fun to see. It's pretty funny.
It is pretty fun to see. It's been tough for us to tap in with the chat.
Oh, yeah, well, there's some chats,
but
yeah.
the first one we got to acknowledge, our girl Joy to the World pops in. She says, congratulations to the Razorbacks. Tough loss for BBN, but excited for you 3 experiencing it. Joy to the World, do you recognize where we're sitting? Because if not, you should, because we used the gift card that you sent us, and we used it right over there. I don't know the name of this operation behind us.
It's the North Bar.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we tried to find you on Twitter. We didn't know if you had that, but we posted a photo of the dozen donuts that we got, and we ate. I mean, the 3 of us made it through like what, 10 and a half of them. I mean, we
I sent Joy an email picture.
Oh, you sent her an email.
I sent her an email.
Right,
so
good,
yeah,
good,
she
good,
saw.
perfect,
So she
perfect.
saw, and she said, "Awesome, glad we had a good time." So yes, thank you,
Awesome.
Joy. It was an
Thank
awesome
you.
place,
Yeah, we
and
appreciate that.
now we're sugared up and caffeined up to take on the day. So thank you very much. You're one of the many people who have been very hospitable to us. But shout out to her, because she was hospitable before we even got here. Like, she ended up as a gift card before we even got here. So thank you, Joy. We really appreciate you. And hey, if you're ever in Fayetteville for a game or something, let us know, and we'll be sure to return the favor to you.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to this stream. I feel like I've eloquated my thoughts pretty well, but I do just want to inform you guys. I just got a text, and Mark Pope took another 30. He didn't like the way his team played. He wants to.
It needs a review.
They're out of whack a little bit. He needs to rally the troops a little bit. Needs another time.
Yeah. Is there any other chats, by the way? Because I don't even know. Like, since this is on YouTube, it's a new foreign thing to us. But If there's any chats we miss, because I don't want to miss any, or especially super chats. I don't want to miss any of those things if those happen. But
If there are, I can't tell.
Okay,
on
that's
this,
fine.
On this format. So if you sent those, hey, thank you,
Thank you,
very much,
yeah.
and just assume that we shouted you out there.
Yeah.
No, just a lot of conversation here. A lot of people that are obviously excited about the win. A lot of gracious Big Blue Nation fans, and a lot of those. And there's not a lot of salty in here, but we got some of the typical. Oh, this is
Okay.
the Reed DJ Wagner conversation that we've had a million times. It's all good. There is a lot of discussion in here, or there was a little bit earlier about. Yeah, great, but Arkansas is not making the NCAA tournament, or maybe they will now. They have a lot of work to do to get back in that conversation. However, in winning this game last night, it was a huge quad 1 win, a quad 1A, which is about as good as it gets. You jumped up 12 spots in the net. You jumped up 14 spots at KenPom, and so you're still on the outside looking in, but now you're closing in on knocking on that door. It was a huge win for Arkansas. Now they're I think they're up to, this is crazy to say, 3-8 in quad 1 and quad 2 games, but they were like 1-8, not too long ago. So still an uphill battle, but they're at least creeping their way back up into the conversation. We'll see what they do.
I'll say this for that. I still don't think the Arkansas Razorbacks are going to the NCAA tournament, but if they do, it's because of the start that they had and winning a game in Rupp Arena against Kentucky. So thanks, Kentucky, for starting that whole trend, and hopefully gets Arkansas the NCAA tournament. And good luck to you, because I kept bringing it up with those KSR guys and even Kentucky fans when they were talking about Pope. And again, I think Pope's a good coach. I think you all are going to be just fine with Pope. But he hasn't won an NCAA tournament game yet, so don't be spiking the ball. That was my whole point about them talking about Pope versus Cal. You want to say these million conversations we've had about Cal? Fine. Guess what? We're going to have them. And we're going to have them with big wins, and we're going to have them with having great players, just like y'all did. But maybe wait until Pope actually does something in March Madness in the NCAA tournament before you start saying, oh, our coach is 20 times better. Maybe he ends up being that way. But right now, head-to-head, Cal's the better coach than Mark Pope. Just saying.
I don't think there's any question in the matter.
Oh, man, it feels good. I love it. I love this thing. So, well, guys, any final thoughts before we roll out of here and catch our flight here in a few hours back to the great state of Arkansas?
Everybody tune in to the Pod at the Palace. It's going to come out later. Here's what I did, fellas, because I recorded this, got up, went over to Rupp, and recorded this morning. And I decided while I was talking, I'm going to put this out later this afternoon, early evening, and consider this tomorrow morning's Pod at the Palace. I'm breaking the streak.
There you go.
170 straight days. And so, yeah, this is like a bonus content day, which is cool, but it's not going to be one in the morning.
No.
I figured if I was going to break the streak, this is a good time to do it.
The
so
the 3-point streak's over, just like for Arkansas.
The streak is over.
Man.
Okay, and then we'll just start a new one. But everybody say, just keep John in your thoughts, all right? Because this plane stuff, this airport stuff, it's just, he did a really good job on the way down here, and just support him, keep him in your thoughts on the way back, because we need to get him back in one piece here.
Yeah, and thank you, all of you who have been sending me about all the news of these planes that have been crashing and all that stuff. It's been, hey, what do you think of this? Thank you. I really appreciate all of that so much so.
My final thoughts are this. What y'all don't understand is that DJ Wagner was starting in the Kentucky lineup, and Reed Shepherd was on the bench. And Reed Shepherd, they buried him. They couldn't, the offense was better when he was on the floor, but they wouldn't play him. And so that's the thing with the DJ Wagner thing that people are missing. And another thing I'll add is Cal likes to win big games, but lose games he should win. And he brings in 5-star talent, and they underachieve.
It's true. I'll also say that, Cal, what he did last night is great, but it's not going to mean a whole lot if he doesn't do something with it. Because Arkansas has a lot of work to do. And, we'll celebrate. We'll let the 24-hour rule take place of celebrating this win. But if Arkansas goes and lays an egg against Texas in the next game on the road, it's all going to be for naught. But it's just our final thoughts here, my final thought at least. Again, thank you to the city of Lexington. Thank you to Big Blue Nation. Thank you to KSR. Thank you to the people in Rupp. Thank you to everybody who has made this trip. And, of course, all of you watching, whether you're Razorback fans or Kentucky fans. The super chats last night were insane during Pod at the Palace post-game show. So thank you all so much for that. This trip's been awesome. and it wouldn't have been awesome without everybody involved. Like we were going to have fun no matter what, but the people that around us that made this trip so special, we can't say thank you enough. It was magical, it's memorable, and we can't wait to be home. But it was just the best of the best. So thank you all for tuning in with us, subscribing to us, locking in with us, paying us, everything. Like it was truly an awesome and great thing, and continue to hang out with us and support us and check out our content, whether it's the Pod at the Palace, whether it's Bombastic Podcast, Inside Arkansas Live, all the great content we're going to have covering all things Razorbacks right here on Inside Arkansas. So that'll do it for us here, North Bar, whatever it is. Well, we're here in Kentucky, in Lexington. Yeah, it's there's just a lot of directions.
Is it Andres or is it Anders or is it?
Yeah, they asked me to pronounce Big Z last night. I couldn't do it either. So, but either way, we're going to get out of here. We're going to go catch a flight here in a few hours. But again, appreciate each and every one of you watching in, listening in. Be sure to subscribe to us here on Inside Arkansas and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. So for Andrew Ellis, as well as Curtis Wilkerson, I'm John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel tomorrow. And we'll see you then as I awkwardly stand up and try to pause and in this stream while you deal with it. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you then.
Yes, you do want to stop streaming.
I do
Click
want to
yes.
stop stream.
So click yes on there. Click the yes button when it asks you.